Welcome to this week's edition of the Dakota Angler 2-Minute Fishing Report. Well, all of you remember that old saying that a lot of people used to say, good things come to those that wait. Well, we've waited long enough and the good things are coming. And then what I'm referring to is the ice. Again, I think there's a lot of early ice conditions out there. A lot of open water still remains today. And obviously that is changing with the forecast that is ahead. But many people are still getting out on a lot of the area lakes, let's say north of Watertown at this point in time. Some of those lakes include Wabay up off of Buckshot and off the Refuge, Pickerel, Enemy Swim, Bitter, up by the Lodge that is, Three Buck, Whitewood, and Whitewood's questionable, and also Henry. And those are just to name a few. And those lakes have had anywhere from 5 to 7 inches of ice, even 8 inches of ice in spots. But again, a lot of open water exists on some of those lakes as well. So a lot of caution is still advised. Common sense is still advised. But with this colder weather, with the overnight lows in the single digits to teens above zero and daytime highs in the mid-20s to mid-30s, that's helping making some ice. It's not as fast as what we'd like to see this time of year, but still it's making good quality ice. So let's not rush it. I think this coming weekend it's going to be very good to say the least. And so at this point in time, just again, all we can do is continue to emphasize common sense and making sure that you have the proper safety equipment out there, to say the least. Making sure you have a spud bar, making sure you have the safety picks, a float suit. All those things will come in handy just in case you do fall in, and God forbid that would ever happen. So again, no need to rush it. It's coming because Lord knows we've waited long enough. In this week's edition of Todd's Tackle Tips, we're going to talk about rod selection because everyone knows there's a tremendous amount of number of rods out on the market, and it's very difficult to choose the rod that you have in mind, or at least may be right for your type of fishing. So let's talk about some of those things, some of those questions that you need to ask yourself when you're looking to buy that next rod. So, for instance, your rod length. There's anywhere from 20-inch rods, like even sight fishing rods that are even smaller than 20 inches, or even out to 40 to 44 inches in length. And the main question, are you going to be fishing inside your shack or outside the shack? Also, what type of action are you going to want with those rods? The main thing I always ask is what type of bait or jig are you going to be using with those rods? I'm not going to use the same rod that I would use for, let's say, fishing a buckshot spoon, a heavy spoon, as I would with, lighter tackle. So those are some of the questions you want to keep in mind as well. Are you going to be jigging? Are you going to be dead sticking? Because with a dead stick rod, you're going to want to have a little bit more of a finesse tip. And that's what I got, and we're going to spend some time talking about today. I have 4 different rods in my hand, and the nice thing about a finesse tip is they're great for light biting fish. Also, again, great for a dead stick, and the reason why is because they have a light tip. And I know you may not be able to see this, but here's an example of one. This is the Elliott light bite. You can see how the rod has a nice light bite tip to it. You can have it on your rod holder or on your bucket, and you can see that tip flex. Another example would be the JT Rogue. Very popular rod. Again, different length. This is a 32-inch one, but again, very light tip, but you can see where the backbone begins, so that's very key. When you have a strong enough backbone, you can land those larger fish as well. Also, new to the market this year, Daiwa Kagi. Everyone's familiar with the Kagi rod in the summertime. This is a very popular rod this year coming out for ice market. And again, very light tip. Again, you can see that. The backbone's beginning right back there. So very much a fantastic rod for a light biting situation, and also to be used for a dead stick. And all these are, basically I don't want to call them custom rods. They're in the way they are. They're a little bit more expensive. If you don't want to spend that amount of money but still want to have a finesse type of bite, we have different types of rods that are a little lower price point. An example of that would be the Snitch rod by 13 Fishing. And that's this rod right here, again, a 32-inch rod. And then again, you can see the finesse tip, the backbone beginning to flex right there. So again, each one of these rods would be perfect for your different types of presentations and your uses that you have in mind for the next time you're out in the water. The nice thing about all of us here, when you buy a rod from us, we're going to be able to answer those questions, or help you answer those questions for you, and make sure that you have the right rod for what you're looking to do. You can easily stop by any other place and pick up any rod that you want to. but allow us to use our expertise to help you pick out the rod that's right for you. Well, once again, due to the ice conditions, there hasn't been any photos submitted to share with you in this week's report. But again, if you have some photos you'd like to share and to brag a little bit, it doesn't hurt to brag. All you have to do is send it to me. Send it to Todd@DakotaAngler.com or post it to our Facebook wall. And before we end this week's report, if you haven't heard already, all of our shacks, clothing, electronics is all on sale. All you need to do is, and that also includes augers, all you need to do is stop on by here at the store and take a look at the great selection and the great prices to be had. And if you can't make it to the store, all you have to do is check us out on the web at DakotaAngler.com. And then, if those two options don't work, feel free to give us a call, 605-336-9132. Well, folks, that's this week's version of the 2-Minute Fishing Report. Thanks for joining us. I'm Todd Heitkamp, the owner of Dakota Angler, and as we say around here, fish on! We'll see you next week. Thanks for watching. Stay healthy, and folks, stay safe.